Thanks for joining us this afternoon. Joy News is learning that as many as 14 kidney patients on dialysis may have died between just May and September after the Kolebu Teaching Hospital ran out of some consumables, which led to a restriction of dialysis services to only emergency cases. Just last week alone, the teaching hospital attracted widespread criticism when the facility announced an increment in cost of dialysis services from the known 380 Ghana cedis to somewhere 765 Ghana cedis following a public outburst. That decision has been reversed. In our first episode of the latest series that we have on Ghana's dialysis crisis, we tell you the story of a 54-year-old kidney disease patient, Georgina, who's leaving on prayer due to the inability of the family to afford treatment. Maxwell Agoba has the rest of the story.
Master, why am I Ghana for?
54-year-old Georgina Pia lies in the reclined seat at the private facility, the Central Dialysis Center. She just finished her session for the week. Once a vibrant fish seller at the Tema Fishing Harbour, now confined by her kidney condition, unable to afford the lifeline she needs, regular dialysis.
I started getting the symptoms of a kidney condition when my daughter was in the first year of university. Even getting food to eat is difficult. I have to beg before I eat. My mother, who used to support me too, is also blind now. I don't have any helper. I used to sell fish at the fishing harbour and used to get support from my friends, but not anymore. You know the harsh economic conditions now, so I have to beg before I get money for my weekly dialysis at this private facility.
I can't be 54-year-old Georgina Owusu was compelled by the closure of the dialysis center at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital to seek treatment from this private facility. She was hopeful that the dialysis center at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital would be reopened so she could go back there. But the news that she received shattered her hopes of ever going back. She says the increase of dialysis treatment from 380 cedis to 765 cedis is just like the authorities pushing her from behind into a 6-foot grave.
And to bring my mom to this private facility, 460 cedis.
Her daughter, 26-year-old Stella Owusu, is the only child of her mother. She says the weekly dialysis sessions have taken a toll on their finances. She says, but for friends and family members, her mother would have been dead.
When they closed in May, we were there, I think about a month later, or it didn't even get to a month. Then you are there, and then one person's picture will be sent. So and so has died. Couldn't get money to dialyze continuously because I think Kolebu was the cheapest place, 380 cedis at that time. Other facilities were taking 500, 550 at that time. And so moving from Kolebu, no source of income, and then you are supposed to wait 550 twice a week or 3 times a week. Most patients couldn't get it. So we've actually lost a lot of patients, both young and old. But the one I can count right now is about 12 patients since Kolebu dialysis unit shut down. Because even bringing my mom to this private facility, 460 cedis twice a week, I don't even get it. So it's once a week I get for my mom. I'll call church members, I'll call friends, and then they'll contribute and I'll bring her.
Lack of proper and affordable healthcare systems is one of the reasons young people hit the streets last 2 weeks to protest. One of them, Nasiba Bawa, was seen charging at the police. In a video that has now gone viral, she told me she was protesting because the 24-year-old man had died because he couldn't afford the cost of dialysis.
A 24-year-old boy died this morning. His father is a teacher. His father is a teacher. Gave over 30 years of his life to the service. Could not afford transplants. Could not afford dialysis. 400 cedis a week. What do you mean? Do you know how much taxes they check out every day? God will judge the government.
2 weeks after the protest, I'm at Starbites at West Legon to meet Nasiba. She usually buys her lunch here. She says government must do more to cater for people who cannot afford the cost of dialysis. She says no one should die because they can't afford to live.
I was so upset, like it got to me, and not even just because Hassan died, but what Hassan represented, even for me, you know, that he represented a lost, like a country that had failed me. Yeah. He represented people who were dying or had died. He represents a lot of things for me. And so looking at him and looking at the situation that finally what had gotten me into, it was as though like you were living in a memory yet to happen. I was angry, that's the word. I wasn't upset. I was angry, and anger is a very rare emotion for me. It's a very important emotion for me. Like for you to be angry, it means that the thing you're angry about is very important, because I would say I'm annoyed, I'm upset. To be angry, it's very important for me.
These stories underscore the urgent need for the government to address the healthcare disparities in the country, ensuring that essential treatments like dialysis are affordable and accessible to all, regardless of their financial status. The lives of people like Georgina Mensah and countless others depend on it. Maxula Bagba, Joy News.
We stay on the story because pressure is mounting on government to address the concerns as the Renal Patients Association of Ghana, made up of those suffering these kidney conditions, are asking government to quickly fix the challenges of the cost and also provide many more of the facilities with more dialysis kits. We can now get more from Maxwell Abuba, who's been following their press conference for us today. He's joining us from the grounds. And Maxwell, there are concerns that more persons may die if nothing is being done. What more is the concern of these patients?
Renal Association of Ghana have been mourning 14 of their members who they say died between the period of May and September. They say that many of them used to get free treatment from the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. These dialysis treatments was sponsored by some benevolent persons. They say that the Kolebu Teaching Hospital restricted the dialysis services to only emergency cases. They say they had to resort to the use of private facilities to get that treatment. They tell us that because they're unable to get that treatment, some of them are unable to go for their dialysis treatment.
As we speak, the renal unit has been closed since 22nd May 2023. Up to date, to outpatients. Patients have gone through turbulent times as we struggle to finance our dialysis treatments at private dialysis centers across the city. Unfortunately, during this shutdown period, we have lost about 14 of our friends. Patients with ESRD and this has left the rest of us living in constant fear for our tomorrow. This is because we do not know who amongst our number will be the next to lose their lives needlessly. For the souls of our departed friends, may they rest in peace. Please let's observe a minute's silence for them.
President,
Yes, now, what I am from, and the papa in the front tonight. With the baby in there.
I've been speaking to some of the patients who used to receive their dialysis treatment here at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital.
This is the water I'm supposed to drink the whole day. Okay. So let's say if I take tea, I have to factor it into it. If I eat fufu, fufu goes with soup, I have to factor into it. And then anything soupy or anything, we even use the word fluid. You are supposed to factor it into it. Because the kidney is down and the kidney is not able to extract the excess water. So when you take more water, you can't breathe properly, you cannot sleep, your legs will be swollen, you get your face bruises. So this is the water you're supposed to take. I think the 22nd was a Monday. They reported for dialysis. And when they came, they were told that the consumables are out of shortage. So they should go and find the places to do it. Thank God in Accra, there are a lot of dialysis centers around, but as to the quality, it's another thing altogether. So we have to go and look for money and go and do it somewhere. So since from that time, the 22nd of May, the place has been shut down to the OPD patients. No OPD patient is being worked there. It's only for emergencies that they are working on them. So it's true, the place has been shut down. As we are talking now, it's still not open to OPD. They are only doing emergencies.
Did these deaths happen because your members, we told majority of them are beneficiaries of some kind of sponsorship arrangement here, so sometimes they come for the dialysis free of charge. These deaths occur because they couldn't raise enough money to go to private facilities or other facilities to get a dialysis? Is that
sure? That was it. That was the bottom line. That was it. Like I said, most of the people who come here are very vulnerable. They don't have the means. They are not working. So where is he going to have that money from? And most of the private centers are charging between 550 and 600 per session. So they don't have. Just this morning, we just had information, one of our colleagues gone.
So that brings the number to a 15?
Yeah, 15. Just this morning, we just had information, one of the guys gone. I learned he was doing it within 2 weeks because he was not having money to do it. Probably, most of them probably are doing 3 times a week. So 3 times a week, you sit down for 2 weeks, you go and do one. That is the end result. So most of them, all these 15 people, I can mention their name, but that is if only the relatives who agreed to me for me to mention their names. I can mention their offhand to you. Very vulnerable people, they don't have the means to go for the dialysis at the private centers. So it kills them.
I've never passed uni since 11 years now. Yeah, because you eat, you drink. Because the kidney is spoiled, is to the end stage. Yeah, so you don't pass. I don't pass urine. It doesn't come. It's not even a drop. Instead of doing 3 times, I have to do 1. Because if I go maybe Wednesday, I can't go on Saturday. I have to wait maybe Monday. Then I go. I'm suffering, but what can I do? I have no option. I have to manage. Yeah, so that's how we are living.
So we're hearing that 14 of your members have died.
Yes.
Because they didn't.
The most painful one, his name is Charles. But
tell me about Charles.
Charles was a very young, vibrant guy, very handsome. We do send him going to buy food for us. Even when you see, you won't believe he's sick. When there is something, he will be taking care of everything. Even if we are there and we ask the 2 of us, who will go first? Everybody will point to me.
If you say who will go first, what exactly are you talking about?
If we are saying who should die, they will point to me, they won't point him because he's young.
You freely discuss that?
Oh, sometimes we do. When we are there, we discuss what happens to us. Oh, today...
That's what you see death approaching?
We see death every day. We see.
How?
Sometimes, you are there, you may be on the machine, you might not know what will happen. Your heart can fail you, you can die. It comes with heart and diabetes. So if you have diabetes, if you have heart problem too, it causes your kidney to spoil. So
former President John Mahama has also been wading into the conversation, calling for the scrapping of import duties end taxes on consumables and kits used for dialysis treatment. He says it is disincentive for the government to continue to tax the elderly and the vulnerable population.
These promises can be found on page 63 of the NDC Manifesto of 2020. Given the opportunity, we shall bring relief to thousands of our citizens suffering from these ailments. Just this week, there was an uproar when the nation's premier teaching hospital, Kolebu, announced an increase in charges for dialysis treatment by 100%. This was threatening to put the cost of dialysis treatment out of the reach of many patients and their families. The explanation I have read from the Kolebu Teaching Hospital cites the increase in taxes and duties of materials for dialysis treatment as the main reason for their decision to hike the price by 100%. As an immediate measure, I call on the government to exempt medication and kits for dialysis treatment from taxes and duties to maintain this critical lifeline for patients whose survival depends on this treatment. I've had first-hand experience with the story of one of my assemblymen from the Bole Bamboy district constituency where I was a member of parliament for 12 years. This assemblyman had to travel weekly to Kumasi for dialysis treatment because there was no such facility anywhere near our constituency. And there are many places in this country where dialysis is not available. And so if you have kidney disease, you either have to travel to Tamale, to Kumasi, to Accra, Cape Coast, or any of those places for dialysis. And you can imagine the transportation alone, including the cost of the dialysis treatment. Most people cannot afford it. So this assemblyman had to travel weekly to Kumasi from Bole Bamboy, my constituency, for dialysis treatment because there was no such facility anywhere near our constituency. After a while, the cost of transportation to and fro became too expensive to bear. He therefore had to move with his wife, who was his caregiver, to Kumasi near the health facility for ease of treatment. The cost of treatment and care drained the family financially. Despite the monetary support I continued to give to the family, the absence of an opportunity for a transplant led to a deterioration in his condition and eventually to his death. He passed away. These are real-life stories. They are not statistics. These are the lives of our citizens, our people. Amidst the current economic crisis and a difficult period for many Ghanaians with worsening hardship, high cost of living, collapsing businesses and unemployment, the government should not be sensitive by passing on catastrophic healthcare costs onto the people with life-threatening diseases, especially the elderly. Because this is akin to condemning them to a death sentence. Many of such patients in this bracket are elderly people.
Also, former President John Dramani Mahama there indicating that many of these kidney disease patients are being sentenced to death. That's how he's describing this. I want to bring in a member on the Health Committee of Parliament, Charles Agbefe, who is also MP for Agoti Maziope, joining us right now via Zoom. Thank you, sir, for spending some time with us here on the poll. So let's start off with the concerns of the former president, pointing out that what we should be moving towards doing as a country now is to consider the point where, of course, we will be reversing or perhaps withdrawing all tax components on imports for the dialysis machines. As the Health Committee in Parliament, has this gotten to your notice, and what do you intend to do?
Thank you very much, Blaise, and a very good afternoon to your cherished viewers. This issue has come to our attention, and I must also extend my condolences to those who passed away because they could not access the reasonably cost or priced dialysis care at Kolebu. When this issue of Kolebu increasing their cost of dialysis, when it came to our attention,
Hello, Charles. We'll definitely, of course, reconnect with Charles Agbeva, who's MP for Agotinosiope, and also a member of the Health Committee, just at the verge of pointing out to us what Parliament's Health Committee has been doing. Honourable, we lost you briefly on the point you're raising, the point about what you intend to do in Parliament. Yes, we lost you briefly. If you could just take that point for us again.
So, Parliament minority ranking Honourable Minta Akando issued a statement that Kolebu should reverse the prices back to the original. Number two, all those who have paid the new prices should be given or to access the dialysis care to offset whatever increments they incurred as a result of the new prices. But we understand they've closed the places only for emergency cases. What Parliament intends doing and what we've been discussing among ourselves is one, every fees or charges at Kolebu is approved by Parliament. And this new request of 765 has not come for approval. In fact, before Kolebu charges any fee or any cost to a client, it comes to Parliament for approval through the Subsidiary Legislation Committee. This year, August, when Kolebu met the committee, there was no renal dialysis charges. And so we were all taken aback. And that's why I was happy Kolebu has explained that they did not approve, the management of Kolebu, they did not approve the renal dialysis charges issued by the renal department. This brings to us, or brings to our attention, that there's something wrong there. Because a department cannot just go and increase prices arbitrarily when there is a regime for price charges. And so the first thing is to look at why they are demanding for the price charges. Obviously, the duties and taxes they are paying at the ports, the CD dollar exchange, because we are importing all these items, and then three, even getting the items quickly and procured is another challenge. And so Kolebu should present to us in Parliament these challenges.
Are you telling me that as a member of the Health Committee, none of these concerns has ever come to your attention?
Blessed, these concerns come to us.
Yeah, so why are you not fixing the challenge? That's the concern of Ghanaians.
It's because government system of waiving taxes on these items at the port is very complex. We are asking for a very remote automated system now, so we list all items that affect the healthcare of our people. This dialysis consumables and equipment. If you look at the duties and taxes on them, I mean, this is for the vulnerable and the aged in our society. Where do you think they can get these monies from? 765, 560 a week, or sometimes 3 times a week. It is not possible. And so we need to sit with, we've been discussing this. But you know, the situation we have in the country now.
I see.
Government will be busy waiving taxes on other items when what is needed for the health care of the people, that is always delayed. And the Minister of Health, they write to the Minister of Health, he sends it to the Ministry of Finance. And you and I know God knows when this will be approved. So they eventually have to go and clear their books, pay those monies, and definitely they'll have to get a markup. They have to get money again to go and import. But I don't think...
You're a minority in Parliament. You've issued a statement as well on this matter. And what you're seeking to suggest is that, first of all, there must be punitive measures. And beyond that, your checks also reveal that, you know, the newly announced price of about some 700 plus cedis is what's been, you know, charged even as we speak at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. What more facts are you gathering about this? Has the trend been reversed? And are you equally demanding for some refund to all the persons that they've illegally charged these fees?
And this is that was the import of the press conference. First, we demanded that the new prices should not be affected. It should be reversed. Number two, those who have paid the new prices should be given a refund or be allowed to access the service. And then there is this there's this balance. The balance to give them can be also used for attending the service. Then we are also asking that Kolebu should put in place a robust structural system where one department cannot just get up without following due process. It should change prices overnight, affecting the vulnerable and the aged. No, we are looking at that. That is where we are not asking for punitive action. We are asking for putting in place administrative structures that will avert this unfortunate situation. Then the next thing we are also asking for government to change its tax waiver system. It's too cumbersome and complex. Right? If you know the number of applications and requests Kolebu and other government institutions have made to the Ministry of Finance to waive taxes on items they've imported, that would help and support vulnerable and the aged in the society. You will be shocked. And they are still lying there. They are still lying there, not approved. And so it's important. And these things come to Parliament. And that's why I think Kolebu should make another case for us. With this case, when it comes to Parliament and they're asking for an increment, we will ask why. And when we know, and we all know, we will then on the floor of Parliament debate and make a presentation to the Minister of Finance. Bring him to the floor of Parliament and tell him that this is not acceptable. In fact, they need to put in a special purpose vehicle just for this. Because losing 14 members, 14 Ghanaians between May and September, just because they cannot afford, it's unacceptable. It's not acceptable.
Okay, there's the issue about the patient as well. Policy measures to be considered, especially when it comes to, for instance, some of these social schemes that we have. NHIS has come up strongly. Why are we not able to, think about, I'm just looking at the possibility where such a scheme can take care of these patients. It's not as though it's too much. Maybe having an NHIS scheme for persons suffering this condition. You have some working experience with that organization. Is it feasible to consider such a policy measure, at least as a cushion for them?
I think NHIS have a very robust actuarial department that can look at the sustainability of adding on renal dialysis cost to the benefit package of the scheme. Recently, NHIS have been adding on even more expensive conditions like cervical cancer and others. Breast cancer and others are also being considered. Family planning has been added on. And so I believe strongly we can make a case for this, for it to be looked at. We can look at, we have the acute and then we have the chronic. Those who have the chronic condition, renal condition, they go almost 3 times a week. The acute is maybe once a week, 1 to 2 weeks. They could look at the OPD cases and see how they can probably subsidize to start with the cost for these patients. And I think it will go a very long way to minimize the death we are seeing. Then number 2, I also think there should be a concerted effort to ensure that we have these dialysis equipment in almost all district hospitals, at least the existing ones, so that patients' cost of traveling, time of traveling will be minimized, will reduce. Those monies they will use to travel up and down, they could just walk into their district hospitals and get it done for them at a reasonable cost without incurring too much travel time, like what His Excellency the President was saying about the gentleman in his constituency. Then finally, I also think there's strong need, a very strong push.
I'm with you, sir. We can hear you. Yes, we're with you, sir.
Okay. I am requesting for a strong push for a new public health alert. Listen, every health institution now, when they are making a presentation on their top 10 diseases, one of them now is our NCDs. NCDs meaning the non-communicable diseases, which include the renal dysfunction, the kidney diseases, the hypertension patients, and then what do you call it, heart failure and others. It's becoming a rate at which even young people are getting disease, alarming. And so there's a need for us to do a lot of public education. Man, how many people do health checks a year in this country? We should encourage people to be checking their health status annually, at least twice a year. If the condition is detected early, the chances of you getting cured or getting to the chronic stage before you start solving is very, very low.
Right.
And so I see some of these challenges, some of these solutions should be a public education, massive public education. We need to pay for it. We need to advertise. We need to educate our people and tell them that the disease is real. This is diseases that we can avoid.
Right.
It is preventable. It is not communicable. It's our lifestyle. And so if we are educated and we are told we exercise once a week or twice a week, and we should be checking our health because we would avoid renal dialysis.
Parliament is resuming in just about 2 weeks. Will you trigger some processes as the minority in Parliament on this?
We started it already through the public engagement, the press statement we released. And I think when we resume, that will be one of the first few statements I wish I could, with the support of the committee members. This should not be a minority case.
Right.
This is something affecting
a national
in this
crisis,
country,
yes.
both majority, minority. A national issue, yes. And so we should trigger it for a special committee to look at it. What is really happening? I even think the committee should visit Kolebu and find out why the center is too close till now. Why are they only rendering services on emergency cases? Because in this country, Kolebu, the charges are the cheapest. And if you are denying people for OPD services and only looking at emergencies, you are creating a lot of challenge for them. And so we need to go in there quickly, look at it, visit the hospital, know what is happening, try to get an understanding what is happening throughout the country, and then make a proper presentation on the floor of Parliament for us to take a decision on.
All right.
These are things I think we need to trigger now before Parliament resumes.
Grateful for your time. That's Charles Agbeve joining us here on the Pulse, a member of the Health Committee in Parliament. And as we speak now, it's time to talk about anti-corruption because social media in the last few hours has been awash with outrage over that decision by management of the Bulk Oil Storage and Transport Limited, BOST, to procure 18 iPhones for staff of the state petroleum storage company. BOST, in an official statement, is now admitting to procuring the phones, except to say that BOST believes the purported cost making rounds on social media is highly inflated and false as we know it. So joining us, Kweku Asante has been doing some checks for us, joins us in studio with details of what it is that's been said about this particular iPhones for staff of BOST. This is strange, by the way. But let's get to, first off, the cost, correct? Because BOST is contending, the
in fact, just around the weekend, there were rumors swirling around social media that BOST had purchased these iPhones for a cost of about 28 million Ghana cedis. So this BOST statement does not contest the fact that these iPhones have been bought for its board members and some senior management members. It actually says that the price is different. So let me take you through the statement as has been put out. It says that the total cost of the phone stood at 234,000 Ghana cedis and grossed out to taxes and everything. The amount is captured in the financial report They say that the reason for the purchase of the devices was to equip the team to stay in touch with the management information and business intelligence systems of the company for efficient decision making. In the petroleum storage and transportation space, a split second can make the difference between success and failure. So, BOST admitting that they had to buy 18 iPhone 13s for some of their senior management members and board members because they wanted to stay in touch. And like you said, a lot of comments coming in from social media is, what phones were the board members and management members using before this, and couldn't they stay in touch with that? So the main statement that just came out from BOST is to say first and foremost that yes, we've bought the phones not for 28 million Ghana cedis like has been alleged on social media, but 284,000 Ghana cedis. If you do the math, that's a unit cost around 15,000 cedis, iPhone 13, and other things. So that is the response from BOST, that it was important to link up management and board to stay in tune and be contacting each other every now and then.
I see. But of course, these purchases were not done this year. That's the official report.
It was bought in 2022. When you look at the public procurement authority's approval to BOST to be able to do this. In 2022, this approval was given, the phones were bought. So this is 2022. And in fact, there are those who are making the calculation that in 2022, iPhone 13 did not cost that much and all that. But these are questions that have been asked in terms of social media and even mainstream media. Those who are asking about the propriety of a struggling company like BOST, who has been making losses over the past few years, spending that huge sums of money to buy iPhones for board members and senior management members who are already drawing salaries, drawing allowances, and why they not buying this for themselves. Even questions about, will they hand these phones back to the company when it's time to leave, or this is something that they're going to keep as their property? The questions are coming, but this BOST statement responds to two of the main issues. One, that we did not spend 28 million Ghana cedis. We did spend 284,000, and it has been working so far for us to keep management and staff in tune to be able to deliver on the
Okay, now the essence for which even the phones were purchased, for communication, do we know what sort of communication? Because, the reaction is, why purchase these phones if the sole aim for, carrying out the exercise is communication? What's the statement?
Yeah, if you look at the statement, if you look at paragraph 4, it says, the reason for the purchase of the devices was to equip the team to stay in touch with the management information and business intelligence systems of the company for efficient decision making. In the petroleum storage and transportation space, a split second can make the difference between success and failure. And they claim that the results so far is there to show, because since they bought this phone for management and board members, they've been working well, gelling together, and they are delivering results for the company. Of course, if the Auditor General audits them later on, it will be good to see whether or not this is actually true and it's working or not.
Yeah, but the phones, I mean, the essence of it, they are not really explaining the
Yes, all that they are saying is that these phones were to enable management and the board to stay in touch, and they quote, management information and business intelligence systems. So these phones is to allow BOST stay in touch with this system. And the question to ask again is it only iPhones at that extraordinary cost that is going to allow management and board to stay in tune? Of course, BOST does not answer that part of the statement, only to say that, well, it is working for us so far, and we think that we've made good.
Okay, there are some more points that have been raised on that statement now, but let's also bring in Adam Sedano, who is co-chair of the Citizens Movement Against Corruption, monitoring all of this, and there are integrity issues coming up, Mr. Sedano, about why, first of all, BOST would want to buy iPhones for their staff. I mean, what do you make of the clarification coming through? They, first of all, dispute the figures. Quick, what's the figure?
Yes, 284,000 Ghana cedis.
284. If we do the breakdown, they should just about 15,000. That's enough, at least, to purchase a smartphone, isn't it?
What do you mean 15,000 is enough? It's way overboard. I mean, come on. If you went to the market and we did a 3 invoices thing, and you wanted to find a suitable phone, anything between 1,500 and 4,000 will give you an excellent phone with all the features you need.
This is BOST we're talking about. It's a very strategic state agency.
Come on. I mean, is that a prudent use of our resources? Don't forget that the price builder includes a BOST special levy. What it tells you is that
if they did well last year, it's simply because the people of Ghana at the top have had to pay much more. And we're not expecting that we'll pay that much more so that you go and buy iPhones for 15,000 Ghana cedis. That's corruption. That's an abuse of entrusted power for personal gain. That should not be allowed.
Okay, just hold on for us briefly. Quickly, the reason they're giving now, let's probably read that.
Take that again. They say that the reason for the purchase of the devices was to equip the team to stay in touch with the management, information, and business intelligence systems of the company for efficient decision making. We must instruct, it's instructive to know that this was single sourcing.
So that's the explanation. Strategic reasons, intelligence driven.
What is strategic about that?
Right.
Which kind of phone today that you can get between 1,500 and 5,000 that won't allow you to be? I mean, it's all about having the app on the phone. You need to connect to anything in any system. It's about an app. Don't get confused with the English language that is trying to sound more technical than they really are technical. There is no justification for the resources of this nation to be used for 15,000 Ghana cedi phones. Somebody must be held accountable. And I really don't see how a procurement process in any entity, which is state, where we have public servants who are supposed to be servicing the people of this country, and they say they've taken the money out of the special levy. All these years, that BOST has not been doing well. For the first time, they are doing well because you had a special levy added to the build-up in the cost that we are paying. And you don't wait to sustain that, and you are using the benefits from that for yourselves. Really, kind of responsible citizenship or responsible leadership does that?
The purchases the purchases were done last year. Some of the opinion that a lot of water has gone under the bridge. Let's just forget about it. Let's move forward, but ensure that BOST does not go into such businesses again.
Well, I think that the best practice is always to go back. An unexamined life is not worth living. You need to reflect and check. It is only when you find the places where you've made the mistakes and plug those gaps and ensure that they don't still exist for others to exploit, that you can be sure that going forward, it will not repeat itself. So let's not pretend that nothing happened, forget about it. No, you need to do a drill down, a very clinical audit. My thinking is what kind of procurement process did they follow? I think you just answered it. Did you say single sourcing?
Precisely.
Now, are we surprised? On what basis did they do a single source for this? In this country, we don't have people who supply phones that you can get at a good, prudent cost, modest cost. This is not acceptable. We need to find out who leads the internal processes in BOST, because for all you know, if in the first year they made some sense of a break even, they are buying 15,000 Ghana cedi phones. Can you imagine what will happen next?
Okay, but it's a bigger conversation about some of these state agencies that are deemed to be quote unquote lucrative, right? BOST, VRA, the story goes on and on. I don't want to mention the others. There's this perception about some of these state agencies that we need to deal with. You agree?
Well, yes, I don't know about VRA. I thought that VRA usually, I mean, they're part of the groups that you have a lot of professionals there doing work. It's only when you get into the oil and gas and other spaces that there's a lot of things going on that you can't wrap your mind around. I mean, BOST, this is not the first time they've gathered negative press, coverage, simply because the decision making at a management level, you are wondering what is going on. In my mind, I think that perhaps we should start looking at all boards, because, it seems to me that people are taking advantage of the various systems we have. And I'm wondering, is it that management felt that, okay, this is our board, if we don't make them feel cozy and fine, our own jobs may be on the line? I'm just wondering. So perhaps we should be looking much more at what's happening at the board level. Because how did that decision get taken? And why would anybody spend this kind of money? How come nobody recognized that the state of the economy of Ghana means that people would not expect us to do this and still went ahead with it? I think that those are questions. And therefore, from that sense, any other state entity that has boards, let's take a look at what are the boards doing, what kind of purchases are going on, what kind of travel is going on, what kind of perks are we giving them, how is the public purse being protected? Because if the people at the board themselves are just interested in their own perks, it is going to trickle down through management to staff, and perhaps that's where you're going to have very huge bills and costs to the nation. And then we seem to always be, in a situation where we are trying to look for additional resources to run the economy. So yes, let's take a closer look at what is happening at the boards in this country.
And the kind of public reaction and sentiment we're getting on this matter is why, of course, we're having that conversation with you. Justified? Lots of comments, backlash against BOST.
I mean, people are struggling. I mean, you buy fuel these days, and that's where they are.
Yeah.
We haven't resolved the fact that we have oil that is being dug in this country. We have a boss that's supposed to be refining it. We don't seem to have made good use of this particular entity ever since it was created. The first time they seem to have gotten somewhere, they say they are buying iPhones. I mean, come on. You're wondering whether we elected people to just, I don't know, I don't know what word to use. Let's try to be diplomatic. But honestly speaking, an outcry perhaps is not even enough. Perhaps we should be on the streets asking ourselves, what are our leaders doing? Perhaps we do need that incisive look at cross-board, not just BOST. What is happening? How much money is being taken away from the public purse for people's personal perks that have nothing to do with the public good? Perhaps when we start to plug those holes and insist that this must stop, we will then be able to save the kind of money that moves this nation forward, and all the holes we are seeing in the roads and the difficulties we are having, we can begin to resolve them in a more comprehensive way.
I see. But finally, touching on good governance, the CEOs fighting the issues of corruption. There's been one central theme over the period: the need to pass that public officers, the conduct of public officers bill, which you believe will tackle some of these issues. Is that directly related to, for instance, some of the happenings at BOST? How will such a piece of legislation tackle all of these concerns that the general public have? Adam? Okay. We seem to have lost Adam Senano there, but I was just about asking about a code of conduct for public officers bill, which the anti-corruption agencies have been very much keen on. But the latest, I'm sure many of you have learnt on social media, is about this Bulk Oil Storage and Transportation Limited, a state-owned enterprise, buying 18 iPhones for staff at a cost that many believe is outrageous, and it's the reason for which we're having that conversation with Adam Senano. But you're watching the Pulse here on the Joy News channel. When we get back, we'll talk about the protest which is about to hit the country in the next 24 hours. We'll talk about that. Plus, look at the long queues remaining at the district offices of the Electoral Commission. Long queues, even just about 5 hours to the close of that exercise. We'll tell you more about it when we get back. Please stay. And thanks for staying with us. The National Democratic Congress will, in the next 24 hours, lead a protest to occupy the Bank of Ghana. The party is joining forces with other protest groups and pressure organizations on grounds that the central bank governor, Ernest Anderson, is running the country's finances aground. Over the past few days, the leadership of the Occupy BOG protest have been leading community engagements, calling on Ghanaians to join the protest, which will happen tomorrow. Joining us via Zoom now is Mensa Thompson. He is the convener of the group and also executive director for the Alliance for Social Equity and Public Accountability. Thank you, sir, for spending some time with us. We know that you've been to so many communities. In fact, you're just wrapping up one of the engagements and making your way back to Accra. But why should people join the protest tomorrow, as you've been canvassing for over the last few days?
Yes, Blessed. Thank you so much, and many thanks for having me. A very good afternoon to our cherished viewers and the Ghanaian population. Tomorrow is going to be a historic day in the history of this country, primarily because tomorrow is going to witness the largest ever protest to hit this country, the largest ever protest, which is going to register not less than 100,000 people on the streets of Accra. And we are going to demonstrate against the ineptitude of the central bank governor, Dr. Ernest Addison, who I am not sure whether indeed he's a PhD holder as he claims, because how he's managed our central bank, even somebody with an HND in economics could do better than him. We have asked Ghanaians to come out in their numbers mainly because our economy runs on two fronts, Blessed. We have the fiscal front, which is managed by the finance ministry, and then we have the monetary front, which is managed by the central bank. Mostly the fiscal front is managed through government policies. Governments come in, governments go. And so certain policies of the government, mainly economic policy, may work or may not work. And so the central bank is there as a buffer that when the economic policy of the government fails, the central bank will now come in and act as a sort of a buffer to neutralize or reverse, the challenges or the crisis which has occasioned or which has been occasioned by the policies of the government. And that is why, the Bank of Ghana Act gives the Bank of Ghana some independence. It gives the governor some security of tenure, so the government can come in, government can go, but the central bank will be there to oversee an apolitical institution that will oversee the monetary aspect of this economy and reverse, all the weaknesses or the challenges that are occasioned by the poor policies of the government. And so when you have a reckless finance minister who knows next to nothing, like Ken Oforiatta, who becomes a finance minister and starts introducing policies and programs that stifle the Ghanaian economy, the job of the central bank merely is to just intervene and make things right. And so most of the time, when we say a country is in economic crisis, it is on the fiscal front. It is very hard to see that the government has collapsed or an economy has collapsed on both legs, on both the fiscal front and the monetary front. It's very, very hard to see. And I've thrown this challenge out to anybody out there to give us an example of a country whose economy has collapsed on both the fiscal and monetary front. It has never happened. It is only in Ghana that the fiscal front and the monetary front collapsed at the same time. We woke up one day and we were told that the economy has collapsed, and so the government, the Ministry of Finance, have to go do what we call a debt restructuring program. Ghanaians have to bear the brunt of a very excruciating debt exchange program, to the extent that people have to sacrifice their pensions, their life savings, their investment to allow the country to undergo an IMF program. Ghanaians kept quiet and bore all that excruciating pain.
From the last check we did, you had issues with the Ghana Police Service on the routes to use for this protest. And there are also questions about whether or not, in fact, you'll be allowed closer to the venue, the place you would like to hold this protest. Have all these issues been ironed out with the Ghana Police Service?
We don't know why the Ghana Police is trying to behave in the manner they are trying to behave. At our last meeting with the police at the Greater Accra Regional Command about 2 weeks ago, we agreed on the route, the modality for this demonstration. Everything was addressed in a meeting. And we had to put everything on paper. Everything was addressed in the meeting, and we put it on paper. So the police, And so there's a record of our agreement with the police. The route is pretty simple. We are all gathering at Circle of Blacksport. We will march through the Adabraka stretch, through to the Rich Runabout. Then we will turn on the right towards the ministries, straight to the ministries police station, to the High Court traffic light. Then we'll branch on our right to the Atamils Highway, and then go and do a U-turn at the Bank of Ghana traffic light, and then go to Independence Square. That is the route we have agreed with the police. In fact, earlier, we had even requested that we end the demonstration at the Kwame Nkrumah Mausoleum. The police did not agree to that suggestion, and they said the only place they can allow us to end is the Independence Square, against our wish. But we went into the meeting ready to compromise. So even though that was not our original indication, we agree with the police that if you are going to allow us to use the route that we have enumerated, and we can go and end at the Independence Square. So we've reached that agreement. We've reached that compromise long ago. So I was surprised when I saw the police go back to court recently to say they want a clarification of the route. I mean, it's just mischievous. When we hear this afternoon the police are going to address the media over modalities for the demonstration. Since when did the police have to address media before demonstrations? This is going to be a regular protest, a protest against a sitting governor. We have met with you.
Right. Yeah, just land on that point for me.
Yes, we have met with you, the police. We have agreed on modalities for the demonstration. Why do you go back to court asking for clarification? Clarification of what? What didn't you understand? When you had the opportunity to sit down with us in a meeting to address the difficulties, we addressed everything. If you had any challenge, why didn't you bring it up at the meeting so that it will be addressed? You wait a few days to our demonstration and you go to court that you want clarification for the modality of the registration. For the demonstration. It is disingenuous on the part of the police.
And I just need to point out, and just before you build your point, I just need to point out that we are keeping our eyes on the headquarters of the police service or the Greater Accra Regional Command, where, of course, that press briefing will be happening any moment from now. Kwekwa Asante is following up on that. We'll bring you some live updates as and when we have it coming through. So any moment from now, we'll get clarity from the points you're raising about the Ghana Police Service and the issues they are raising about the routes. It does suggest that you don't have, everything finalized yet. You agree?
We do have everything finalized. We don't know what the police is up to, but it is only up to them. We have sat down with them 2 weeks ago, and there's a record of that meeting that we've had with the Greater Accra Regional Police Command, led by ACP Gariba, who chaired that particular meeting. In that meeting, a number of things came up where it was addressed. Initially, we had said that we're only going to end at the Bank of Ghana. But after long deliberations, we made a compromise and said, okay, look, we may not even go to the Bank of Ghana anymore. We will just go around the traffic light and turn and go to Independence Square. In fact, it is very important that we should point out that at the initial discussion, when the police told us that the Bank of Ghana was a security zone, and for that matter, they could not allow us to go close, we asked the Bank of Ghana to tell us where the borders of the Bank of Ghana security zone is. Is it that the security zone of the Bank of Ghana starts at the Iyoko traffic light? Does it start in front of the Supreme Court? Where does it start and where does it end? Tell us where the borders of the security zone of the Bank of Ghana is, and we will end our demonstration on that border. We won't go further. Listen, we sat in a meeting for close to 2 hours. The Ghana Police Service could not tell us the borders of the security zone of the Bank of Ghana. For 2 good hours, the police could not tell us where the security zone of the Bank of Ghana starts and where it ends. And so we then came up with a proposed rule that since you're unable to tell us where the security zone of the Bank of Ghana starts and where it ends, we will go through this section, turn at the traffic light in front of the Bank of Ghana, and go and end at the Independence Square as you have requested. And they agreed. And they said we should go and put it on paper and bring it back to them. So we went back, put everything on paper, and submitted it to the police, and the police acknowledged. And they issued a statement to that effect. So we don't know what the police is up to now. Today, they said they are going to address the press. Tomorrow, last time they went to court, said they want clarifications. So if the police did not understand or did not have clarifications over the modalities of the demonstration, then why did they issue a statement about 2 weeks ago indicating that they've reached an agreement with us on the demonstration? Why did they issue that statement? On what basis did they issue that statement? And so we are not perturbed by this scheming by the Ghana Police Service to sort of dampen the demonstration. Ghanaians are poised to come out in their numbers. At least 100,000 people, we are assured and guaranteed, are going to pour out strong on the street of Accra tomorrow and demonstrate against the reckless, incompetent, disingenuous, destructive action of the Central Bank Governor, Ken Oforiatta, and the head of the Economic Management Team, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia.
There are many who are still asking questions as to what you're expecting after tomorrow's protest. The question as to whether or not there's a concise message you're sending to the BOG. What are your expectations after tomorrow's protest?
Tomorrow's protest is going to be the beginning of a number of civil action that's going to happen against the central bank governor. We know that the actions of the central bank governor, particularly the printing of 77 billion Ghana cedis for the government within one financial year, is criminal. It's against all international financial management regulations. It violates the Central Bank or the Bank of Ghana Act. It violates every principle of public financial management. And we expect that the governor does not only lose his job or sacked from office, but he is made to face criminal prosecution, because the act is very, very clear that at all times, zero central bank financing, and at a year where the Bank of Ghana want to do central bank financing, it shouldn't be more than 5% of the previous year's revenue. And the act penalizes and criminalizes this serious violation of the law. And so, in effect, the central bank governor is a criminal. And we can't have a criminal
Mr. Thompson, you don't have evidence to back the claims you're making now.
Somebody who violates the law, somebody who violates the law, isn't he a criminal?
You would have to withdraw that statement here on this platform.
Blessed, what do you want me to? What do you want me to withdraw?
Yeah, you're not the court on your own. You can't pronounce someone.
It is not the court that makes somebody. If you see somebody stealing somebody's money,
just withdraw the statement. Just withdraw the statement. Let's make progress here.
Blessed, I am not going to withdraw that statement. He's a criminal, and we can't allow a criminal to continue to sit at our central bank. And that is why we are demonstrating. We can't continue to allow a criminal to sit at our central bank. He's a criminal.
I get that. But I don't share the views you share. These are your personal opinion, and of course I would have to leave it here. Mr. Thompson, thank you so much for spending some time with us. Quite a heated exchange there, but it's fine. Let's move on. Let's take you now to one of the busiest routes that connects the western and central regions to the capital, the Kaswa area, because that's sadly. We know that the once glorious stretch has lost its glory, gaping potholes and stagnant rainwater, and mud from the surrounding hills have taken over portions of the road, forcing commuters to spend hours in traffic on that stretch. There's more in this report by Faustina Safo.
A few meters from the Kaswa toll booth is a stagnant pool of water. More like a naturally created government's flagship project. One district, one dam. The problem, however, is that the irrigation potential of this particular dam, created by cascading rainwater and mudslides, is not being tapped as it sits right in the middle of the road. Drivers navigating this stretch must drive with caution, mindful of the peril that awaits them if they speed up. With each rainfall, the asphalt on this stretch is covered with thick sludge from surrounding hills. Frustrated residents say for years, successive governments have looked on without providing a permanent solution to the problem.
I know from Tobu to Nankasangasa de Bahan, it was 6 hours. And here the Moncanchira Womo. Ghana Penifono Mudri Homon Faho, no my father lane, no my so hazard, Eddie Siso, wow, no more Fabi, Nanquamo Fan, no more Taminum, and no moon the way quantity.
Yesterday, we spent 6 hours in traffic from the toll booth to this point. Our leaders don't use this stretch each time it rains. They rather put on their sirens and use the other lane. If they were compelled to use this stretch to have a feel of how we spend so much money fixing our tires, probably they would ensure that this issue is addressed.
Top government officials own houses around this place, but they keep mute and watch us suffer. Just now, my brake band came off. I have to buy a new one.
I honestly don't see what the government is doing to help us as citizens. Every year during the rainy season, this is what we endure. Government needs to construct a huge drain to channel excess water and then get a professional to see how we can prevent the mud from clogging our drains.
The drains designed to channel excess water are now clogged with mud and overgrown weeds. Right before my eyes, a vehicle got stuck, trapped in the mud, a testament to the unforgiving nature of the road.
This stretch is a very busy stretch, and ordinarily it's the only stretch that takes you from the central region to the Greater Accra region with ease. It's a major highway, and just few meters away from this point was the once vibrant toll booth that served as a source of income and revenue to government. So even as I struggle to pull out my feet from the mud, the big question is, where did all that money go to? Well, obviously I can help this gentleman, but then hopefully government can do something to help him by getting this road fixed.
John is a contractor under the Ministry of Roads and Highways. His job is to desilt the drains and gather the mud from the road each time it rains. But he laments he has not been paid for the past 4 years.
Enka first na enka nsuo to ye na no enka ahomache se wo baga bana ye nwie ya enka ya clear kwan no mu nyina eyi gata ni mu na bet mami for the past 4 good years 2 months ya ye adwuma we ma highways 4 good years 2 months mu na ye koyi omuntu ya yeka.
Initially when it rains, we quickly bring in our machines to pack the mud from the road. But for the past 4 years, 2 months, we have not been paid by the highways authorities.
We decided to drive to Barrier, and for hours, my team was stuck in traffic. A kilometer journey from the Kaswa Tobo to Barrier. It took about 2 hours, 15 minutes. The police had to create a diversion route due to the intensity of the mudslide, forcing motorists to share one lane. I spotted this excavator, which had been deployed to gather silt. Unfortunately, it broke down.
Honestly, it's really hard. Like, even when I take a drive with my driver and we go towards our car, it took 4 hours. We were in traffic for 4 hours on the road. Like, it's a non-stop thing. And even I went to Tuba, right? The road over there, they had it, one side closed down, we were driving on the same side of the road. You had cars coming from this way, cars coming from that way, going towards each other. Like, that's not safe.
Each time it rains, everyone feels the pinch. The police had to create a diversion at Barrier because the road is unmotorable. I am a motor rider, and each time it rains, I know I will have to spend my sales fixing one problem or the other on my bike.
As drivers navigate the quagmire, they plead with governments to act. The question is, when will government fix this problem? Faustina Safo for Joy News.
Let's bring in Rootson, building consultant engineer Abdullahi Mahama. Thank you for spending some time with us. Quite a very dire situation there, but in your assessment of this whole situation, what's the cause of the problem?
Well, I would say good evening to your cherished viewers. I think 2002, 2004, 2006, thereabouts, there was a contractor who was working on the Malankaswa interchange and Malankaswa highway. Now, during the construction, ordinarily the contractor was supposed to get material, that is gravel, to be able to do all the various pavement layers like the sub base, the general field, the sub base, the base, or the mechanical stabilized base. And that is one of the areas that the contractor sourced for the material for the works. Those lands were individually owned. So apparently the contractor might have engaged the owners of the lands and then win the material for the works. Now, when you are done with such works, depending on what the owner of the land decides to use the land for, either you have to reclaim the land, or the person will say, okay, the land is earmarked for maybe construction of houses. So you just level the place and leave it for the construction of the houses to take place. So as to what discussion transpired between the owners of the lands during the time of wind and sand and us at now is a challenge that will need to be addressed. The road is done, and unfortunately, the place had been exposed, the vegetation cover had been exposed. And then once you have water seeping through, infiltrating into the soil, you have this heavy material coming down as mud. So these are like mini mudslides. While we should have those major ones that were witnessed in Sierra Leone, we may cut off the whole road completely from the Accra bound section and probably the Kaswa bound section of the other side of the road. In that case, if we don't get the emergency team to actually go in and clear up the mud on the road, we may have to go through Amasaman, use that Kaswa enclave road and connect to Kaswa, and then continue our journey, either reversing backwards or moving towards the central region. So we need, as a matter of urgency, to re-engineer the place. In fact, we've had a lot of site visits. In fact, your own sister station had a documentary, Time Ticking Bomb, and I featured prominently on that documentary about 2019. So you can imagine the year that has just elapsed, and we are still where we are. Construction is still ongoing on the said hills. There are a lot of some of the material hanging loosely, but they're underneath them have been eroded. So some of them are just hanging on the cliffs that at any time when the rains intensifies, we're going to have a lot of mudslide coming onto the road.
And what do you see as the possible solution?
That's why I said the Ghana Highways Authority had actually done some preliminary investigations or site recognition survey, including some other state of agencies. What I think that has to be done engineering-wise is that they have to take a full drone and get detail of how the top of the mountain looks as of now. The buildings that are springing up like mushrooms in some of those selected areas may have to be halted by the local assembly. Once it is properly engineered, there will be layers of gravel from the same area being compacted in various layers and compacted satisfactorily. Once those things are done, any enhanced community building would drastically minimize the soil, the soil that is coming onto the road. Now, there are some other storm drains that were constructed during the construction stage. And those storm drains are not silted. Some pipe ones are not silted. However, the open storm channels have been silted. So when they come to do the re-engineering and doing the various layer compactions, they may have to now connect other valleys on top of. If you have been there, you will see that there are about 6 other valleys which are within the mountainous area. That when we do those storm like a catch pit form, immediately the rains come, the catch pit will be able to intercept all the debris, and the water would run smoothly on top of this and then get to the roadside. Mind you, we don't have to disturb the aquatic nature of the Wager Dam itself. So we need to actually screen, and it can be done in engineering. When we do the catch pit and the water is properly screened, it will connect towards the Wager and will not have the contamination on the other side of the road as the Winneba stretch or Winneba bound of the road.
All right. Grateful, Engineer Mahama, for joining the conversation. And long queues remain at the district offices of the Electoral Commission of Ghana, raising concerns over the decision by the election management body to end the exercise today. The EC maintains that it has already met its target of adding 700,000 new voters onto the electoral roll, a reason for which it will only resume registration ahead of the 2020 general elections next year. However, Joy News checks at the various registration centers is revealing long queues which remain at the centers where the limited voter registration exercise is ongoing. Nana Albuachi Yadom reports from the Ashanti Regional Capital, Kumasi.
The limited voters registration exercise, which began on September 12, comes to an end today at various registration centers across the country. We are currently at the EC's headquarters or office in the Ashanti region, where some new applicants have been trooping in to participate in the registration exercise. This is where they would be moving to participate or to get their voters registration exercise. This particular regional office of the EC is housing 5 different constituencies. We have Tafo, Menchia North, Menchia South, Bantama, and Inshaya. So you can see that some people over here, they just came in to participate in the exercise. These are applicants from Tafo, and over here applicants also from Menchia North. Over here are applicants from Menchia South. You can see applicants for Menchia South, and then applicants for the Bantama constituency, and over there are applicants for the Inshayaso constituency. So this is how it looks like over here at the Ashanti Regional EC headquarters, where applicants continue to troop in to participate in the limited voters registration exercise. I have some persons here with me. I'll be engaging to find out from them how the exercise has been so far as it comes to an end today. Boss, welcome to Joy News. How has the exercise been for you so far since it began on September 12th?
Well, it has been very, very fruitful. We've not witnessed any bad incidents, especially at this center. So you can say very good.
I'm quite surprised because today seems to be the very last day for the registration exercise, but applicants continue to troop in to participate.
That's normal of Ghanaians. We mostly wait for the last days. That is where we become more serious in doing things. So we're not surprised for such number. And we are even expecting more. You are expecting more as it comes to an end today? Yeah. Because that's natural of Ghanaians. Mostly we wait for the last days before we push in to do things. So the number you see here is no surprise.
You happen to be an agent. Are you not concerned about the EC's refusal to put in an extension?
Well, we are. If they do extend, we'll be very grateful. Like I said, Ghanaian attitude. We always wait for the last day, and then at the end of the last day, if you still have people who have not registered, it's very good if you can allow them to. So if EC do extend, we'll be happy. Yeah.
But how many people have you been able to register? This constituency is Bantama. How many people have been registered?
So far, we've registered around 3,100 thereabouts. Yeah.
Was that the estimated number?
Yeah, we were given a target of 4,000 plus, but we've so far registered around 3,000 plus. Yeah.
Okay, so he's an agent for the New Patriotic Party, and he has been able to register over 3,000 new applicants here at the Ashanti region, where the limited voter registration exercise is currently ongoing. It comes to an end officially today, and you can see some of these applicants are here waiting for their turn to also get registered, so that at the end of the day they do not fall victim. So I have with me an agent of the National Democratic Congress as well. Boss, how has the process been so far for you? It comes to an end today, and it seems people continue to troop in despite it ending today.
Thank you. Good morning to everyone. Take a hard work, a stress indeed, because passing people from Biase, Dotekware, Moshizongo estate to regional coordinating council is not an easy job. The money we spend for fuel, even our car just break down this morning. I have to go and hire different car. So I'm begging the Electoral Commissioner, at least next time, I hope next year there is another limited registration. We should do it at electoral area, for God's sake. At least now I can tell you confidently that in my constituency, only register about 10%, 90% are there. Because somebody will just tell you that he won't leave his job and come or join this queue. So it's a lot of stress, just a lot of stress.
Let's look at the numbers. Today happens to be the last day, but people are still coming in to register.
Definitely, that's what I'm telling you. I even told you that we even register only 10%. Even in my electoral area, that's Mochizongo, we only register 10%. Because you can't pass all of them. You just can't do. It's a lot of stress. So we are begging. Next year, the limited registration should be electoral area, not regional coordinating council. It's unacceptable.
So you are trying to say that you've not met your target so far?
Exactly.
But how many people have you been able to register from your end?
Me, from my end, those people I convert to this place, at least I have managed to convert about 800 people, which I was expecting to be more than that. You understand? I was expecting to be more than that. I was expecting at least 1,500. You understand? But you can't do it. It takes a lot of stress, money you spend, transport. It's not easy. So at least we are begging the authorities next year, at least they should do it electoral area so that it will help all of us.
Are you not adding your voice to calls for an extension?
Definitely, if you get at least 1 week extension can be, but all of us, not even me in the opposition, even the government body have everybody sort of this thing. You don't have even money to bus people again. So we have to mobilize another this thing. It's not easy. So, well, if there is an extension, I think it will be okay. But for now, it's not easy, my brother.
Okay, so he is saying that if there is an extension, why not? They would be happy to continue to bring in people to participate in the registration exercise. But clearly, you can see that people or new applicants continue to come in to participate in the limited voter registration exercise, though it is ending today, October 2nd. From the Ashanti Regional Coordinating Council, the EC headquarters here, my name is Nana Boachi Dankwa Yadom.
Well, we are learning that the situation remains the same in some other regions. Let's take you to the Volta region now. Ivy Setoji is joining us from there. Ivy, we are learning that the approach being adopted by the EC now is to give out numbers to those who remain in these long queues. The plan is, and this is not confirmed, but of course that's what we're learning of, that they plan to continue in the event that they are not able to, exhaust all of the individuals standing in these queues at the various centers. What's happening in the Volta region?
Yes, so the same situation is happening in the Volta region, where people will be or may be given numbers. If by 5 p.m. They are still in the queue. So those people may be given numbers so they can continue tomorrow. That is if they are in the queue before 5 p.m. And so that is what is happening. People are asking for extension, especially those in the hinterlands who were not able to access the centers to register. They are asking for extension so they can also participate in the process. So for now, that is what is happening. They are hoping that everything, people are able to register before 5 p.m. Or people who are in the queue they are able to complete before 5 p.m. So that means they may not be able to, but if they are in the queue, they will have no choice than to give them numbers so they can continue tomorrow.
You've been looking at the queues yourself. Does it look like this exercise will be exhausted? I mean, those even still waiting in the queue, all of that will be exhausted before 5, which is just about 30 minutes or 34 minutes.
30 minutes.
Yeah, 24 minutes.
A few may remain because some people have to go to work before they come, and those from the villages or the hinterlands will also have to come. Some of them will have to go to their farms, markets, and all that before they access the centers. So there is a possibility of people, registering tomorrow. A few may be giving numbers to do that tomorrow, because at the end of the getting to the close of the registration, people are now coming. A normal Ghanaian will wait until the last day before he or she gets to the center to register. So exactly what is happening.
Okay. Any reaction from stakeholders, the political parties, and those who've been trying to get their people to register?
Yeah, so most political parties, you see them there trying to get to the people, get their numbers. They are appealing to the EC to make sure that everyone is registered. The ones, especially, most of them are concerned about the hinterlands, people who do not have access to the EC offices, who are not able to fund their transport, and so they are the mercy of the politicians to fund their transport to and fro of the EC centers to their places. So political parties, those who are there, they are asking that EC is able to extend the time so that these people can be able to also participate in the process. So it's mainly about the extension of the time for them to register.
Okay, Ivy Setoji joining us there from the Volta regional capital, and she's been monitoring the exercise in that part of the country. It's been the same for many other centers. We're just waiting to see if the EC will reverse its decision of ending the exercise today. I will keep you updated on that, but that's all we have for you in this package of The Pulse. I'm Blessed, so then log on to myjoyonline.com for more stories. Thanks for your time. We'll see you again. Bye-bye.